The greatest king of ancient Babylon once ruled the world from a golden throne. His name inspired fear, awe, and absolute obedience. But his story does not begin with glory. It ends with madness, silence, and a fall no one expected. Imagine a ruler so powerful that cities collapsed at his command. Walls rose higher than mountains, and temples touched the sky. His capital became the jewel of the ancient world. Yet behind the stone and gold, something was already breaking. Nebuchadnezzar believed the gods favored him above all men. Every victory seemed to prove his destiny was divine. He crushed enemies without mercy and reshaped nations like clay. But absolute power has a dangerous side few rulers ever see. Ancient texts whisper of a warning he ignored. A message delivered in dreams, symbols, and fear. It spoke of pride, judgment, and a king brought low. Nebuchadnezzar laughed, certain no force could touch him. But that's not the worst part of his story. The fall did not come through war or assassination. It came from inside his own mind. A terrifying descent no army could stop. For 7 long years, the king vanished from history's stage. No battles were recorded. No speeches echoed through Babylon's halls. Only rumors spread of a ruler who had lost himself. What could break the strongest king on earth? Was it divine punishment, political conspiracy, or something darker? And how does a man rise so high only to fall so completely? The answer lies in the shadows of ancient Babylon. Tonight, we uncover the rise, the glory, and the terrifying fall of King Nebuchadnezzar. A story of ambition, faith, pride, and judgment. Because sometimes the greatest empires fall from within. To understand Nebuchadnezzar, we must first understand the world that shaped him. Mesopotamia was a land defined by the Tigris and Euphrates rivers where fertile soil created wealth and constant rivalry. Kingdoms rose quickly, but they fell just as fast, driven by ambition and war. Survival depended on military strength, divine favor, and absolute authority. Babylon stood at the heart of this turbulent region, transforming from an ancient city into a rising imperial power. Its markets overflowed with goods from distant lands while priests and scribes recorded the will of the gods. Massive ziggurats dominated the skyline, reminding everyone that religion and power were deeply connected. To rule Babylon meant claiming both political control and divine approval. Nebuchadnezzar was born into a time of rebellion and conquest. His father, Nabopolassar, had shattered the once invincible Assyrian Empire through brutal campaigns. As a young prince, Nebuchadnezzar witnessed sieges, executions, and shifting alliances. These experiences shaped his belief that mercy was weakness and dominance was survival. Before he ever wore the crown, Nebuchadnezzar earned his reputation in war. He commanded Babylonian forces against Egypt and its allies, winning decisive victories that stunned the region. The Battle of Carchemish announced him as a military genius and future ruler. By the time his father died, no one questioned who would inherit the throne. When Nebuchadnezzar became king, he inherited an empire hungry for expansion. He moved quickly, knowing hesitation invited rebellion and weakness. Armies marched in every direction, their banners visible for miles. The sound of drums and marching feet became the rhythm of his reign. One of his first targets was the Kingdom of Judah, a small land caught between empires. Jerusalem resisted Babylonian control, trusting foreign alliances and divine protection. Nebuchadnezzar responded with overwhelming force, surrounding the city with siege towers and soldiers. Hunger and fear spread inside the walls as escape became impossible. The fall of Jerusalem was brutal and deliberate. The city's walls were breached, the temple was looted, and its treasures were carried to Babylon. Thousands were taken into captivity, including nobles, craftsmen, and scholars. This exile was meant to break both resistance and identity. But Nebuchadnezzar did not rule by destruction alone. He returned to Babylon, determined to make it the greatest city the world had ever seen. Massive walls were rebuilt, wide processional roads were laid, and temples were restored in dazzling detail. Each project was a statement that his power was permanent. The Hanging Gardens, whether legend or reality, symbolized his ambition. Stories claimed they were built to please a homesick queen, filled with trees and flowing water. If true, they showed a softer side hidden beneath conquest and cruelty. Yet even beauty served his desire for eternal glory. Despite his success, unrest followed him like a shadow. Conquered nations resented Babylonian rule, and advisors whispered of omens and divine warnings. Nebuchadnezzar listened, but only when it suited him. He believed his strength and achievements placed him beyond judgment. As the empire expanded, so did his pride. He demanded loyalty not only to Babylon, but to himself as chosen by the gods. Every victory reinforced his certainty that no power could challenge him. But history was quietly preparing a different outcome. At the height of his power, Nebuchadnezzar began to experience troubling dreams. They were vivid, unsettling, and filled with symbols he could not explain. Priests and astrologers offered confident answers, but none brought him peace. The dreams felt like warnings, and that frightened a king who feared nothing else. One vision haunted him more than the rest. He dreamed of a massive tree that reached the heavens and sheltered the entire world. Suddenly the tree was cut down, its glory stripped away, leaving only a stump bound in iron. Nebuchadnezzar sensed the dream was about him, but he resisted its meaning. A captive advisor named Daniel finally spoke the truth. He warned the king that his pride would lead to humiliation and judgment. Nebuchadnezzar listened, but his heart remained divided between fear and arrogance. He believed time, power, and success would protect him. Months later, the warning came true in a way no one expected. As Nebuchadnezzar walked on his palace roof, he admired Babylon and claimed it as his own creation. In that moment, something inside him shattered. The mighty king lost his reason, stripped of his authority and identity. Historical and biblical sources describe a shocking transformation. Nebuchadnezzar was driven from society, living like an animal among the fields. His hair grew long, his nails hardened, and his mind wandered into darkness. The ruler of the world vanished without a battle. For 7 years, Babylon continued without its king. Advisors ruled in silence, hiding the truth from enemies and allies alike. Was this madness divine punishment, political convenience, or both? The mystery deepened as the greatest king of his age disappeared into legend. After 7 long years, Nebuchadnezzar's reason returned as suddenly as it had vanished. Ancient accounts say he looked to the heavens and recognized a power greater than his own. With clarity came humility, and with humility came restoration. The king returned to his throne, changed by suffering. His rule after recovery was quieter and more restrained. There were no great conquests or loud declarations of divine favor. Instead, Nebuchadnezzar focused on stability, administration, and preserving what he had built. Power no longer felt invincible but fragile. The consequences of his fall extended beyond his lifetime. Babylon remained strong, but the myth of an unstoppable ruler was broken. Future kings inherited wealth and wars, but not Nebuchadnezzar's authority. The empire would soon face enemies it could not overpower. Historians still debate the nature of his madness. Some see medical explanations, others see political cover, and many see religious judgment. What remains clear is that absolute power did not protect him from collapse. His story became a warning etched into history. Nebuchadnezzar died as one of the most influential rulers of the ancient world. He reshaped cities, destroyed nations, and altered the course of history. Yet his legacy is inseparable from his downfall. Glory made him famous, but humility made him unforgettable. Nebuchadnezzar's story forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about power. He ruled more land than any king of his time, yet could not rule himself. His cities touched the sky, but his pride blinded him to the ground beneath his feet. In the end, strength without humility became his greatest weakness. Across centuries, his rise and fall still echo. Empires continue to chase glory. Leaders still believe themselves untouchable. Nebuchadnezzar reminds us that no throne is permanent and no power is absolute. Even the greatest rulers remain human. His legacy lives in ruins, texts, and unanswered questions. Was his fall divine judgment, personal tragedy, or a warning written for future generations? Perhaps it was all three, woven together into a single lesson. History often speaks loudest through collapse. So we are left to wonder who truly controls the course of history. Is it kings, armies, and walls, or something far greater and unseen? The story of Nebuchadnezzar suggests that greatness is never owned, only borrowed. And when pride claims it, history always collects the debt. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to subscribe to History Hub for more cinematic stories.